at Computex 2023, we checked out Cooler Master at their HQ in Taipei, and we saw this case here. It's called the Cooler Master NCORE 100 MAX. It's got an integrated cooler, integrated power supply, and it's designed to be an all-in-one solution for the most balanced small form factor PC out there. Now, it's been a while since we saw it, and we finally got one to check out for you guys. So what we're gonna do is our usual thing. We're gonna test the thermals, we're gonna do a build, we're gonna take a deep dive. I'm gonna let you guys know if this is worth your hard-earned money. Let's take a look at this brand new case from Cooler Master. All right, let's start off with panel removal. It's completely toolless. What you wanna do is pull the backside off first, and you wanna grab from the top and the bottom, and you kind of pull it towards you, and then back. It can be a little bit daunting at first, but the panel will pop out. The other panel is much the same. Grab the top and the bottom, and kind of pull it towards you, and the panel will pop away from the case. Popping the top panel off, it's also toolless. You just kind of lift it up in each corner, and you can just pop the whole panel away from the case. And then you're gonna wanna remove this panel here, again, toolless. There's two little clips, and they have a lock and unlock position. Basically just unlock them, and then pull the panel towards you, and then unhook it from the chassis. This included bar doesn't just serve the purpose of it being a support and for where the panels mount, but also serves the purpose for cable management. It kind of tucks all the cables away and also tucks the AIO away to make it easier to route everything, because cable management in the NCORE 100 MAX is pretty good. The thing is with these small form factor cases, with everything integrated into the case, the cable management is usually pretty good. And because it's not a case you can typically see inside of, who cares? Cable management's gonna be absolutely fine. Inside of the NCORE 100 MAX, there are integrated dust filters, and believe it or not, they can be popped out with the plastic clips that you see inside the case, so you can clean them. They are different for each side of the case, so if you are pulling them out, it's very easy to distinguish which one is which. The NCORE 100 MAX has a pre-installed power supply. It's the V850 Gold ATX3, and it is removable as well. And to remove it is a single screw at the top of the power supply. And basically, you just want to loosen this screw off, and you can unhook the power supply, and it can make it easy if you're wanting to replace the power supply or just change something in the system just for easy serviceability. Although it is pre-installed and you probably won't need to do that, it is a nice to have. The power supply is already set to the on position, so you're not gonna have to turn it on yourself and worry why it's not turning on. There's also a pre-installed 12-volt high power cable. This is rated for 450 watts, and you'll notice that it's also right angle. So for a small form factor case like this, you don't need to worry about bending any of the cables. In my experience, the V850 Gold's a pretty decent power supply, and now that they've kind of refreshed it with a 12-volt high power connector, it's gonna be better than it's ever been. And to be fair, for small form factor systems, there's not a lot of choice when it comes to power supplies that support 12-volt high power right out of the box right now, even though it's been almost 2 years since we saw this connector launching. Well, actually longer, because the 3090 Ti also had it. The power supply is connected via an internal extension cable, and the power is on the bottom of the case here. So you don't have to route any exotic cables, you're good to go. With the power supply, you'll also notice there's a lot of pre-installed cables other than the 12-volt high power. You got your 24-pin power connector and your EPS power connector, but in the box, there's a whole bunch of spares, just in case you don't have like a 12-volt high power GPU and you have maybe an AMD GPU, probably like the one we're gonna install in here. And if you've got SATA drives and whatnot, it has everything that you need to plug it all in and get yourself going. In fact, I'd almost go as far as saying that if you wanted to pull this power supply out and use it in another case, it's got enough cables to do that too. Somebody's gonna get triggered that I'm pointing with a screwdriver. In the bottom of the case, you can install a single 2.5-inch SSD or a 2.5-inch spinning rush drive. There's only a single mount in this case for a drive. You don't need more than that for a small form factor build, I'll be honest with you. There's a pre-installed Cooler Master SickleFlow 120 fan in the rear of the case, and this is designed to be exhaust for the case, because all the air gets pulled in through the side panels of the case. I hope that makes sense. However, that's not the only fan in this case. You'll notice there's another 120mm fan installed at the top for the liquid cooler. And this is where this case begins to get interesting. The NCORE 100 MAX has an integrated cooling solution. This is a 120mm radiator, but don't let the size fool you because this is 38mm thick. That is much thicker than the standard 25 to 28mm that you'll find out there on the market. What this means is there is more density and more room for cooling performance. If I'm being honest, the performance here is probably close to what you'd find with a 240mm liquid cooler. That's how much difference that extra thickness will make. It's also removable via 2 screws in the top of the case. And the reason why they've done this is also, again, for easy serviceability. And I think Cooler Master's initial intent with this case was for you to be able to install your own cooler and whatnot. But because this is a Max version and Cooler Master typically does this, it has integrated power and cooling, which, if I'm being honest, I don't hate the idea of that at all. When we take a look at this cooler a little bit closer, you can see that it is absolutely chunky. Another interesting thing with this cooler is I don't think you can buy it separately. And remember guys, peel your cold plates and don't Dimitri it. We've all been there, mate. We've all done it before, but yes, make sure you peel this off, otherwise you're gonna be in for a bad time. Also with the NCORE 100 MAX, there is an included accessory packet that has all the mounting hardware for both Intel and AMD installations, and there's also a tube of included thermal paste as well. There's an included 240mm long riser cable that should work with all of your GPU configurations, and you'll notice that it's designed quite a bit differently to other riser cables you'll see, and the reason for this is it's more flexible and it's kind of easier to fit it in cases when they're built with individual cables. You'll also notice that there is a single part of ribbon cable, and this is usually to do with signaling for PCIe Gen 4 because this is a PCIe Gen 4 riser cable. For motherboard support, the NCORE 100 MAX only supports ITX motherboards. GPU support is where the NCORE 100 MAX begins to get very interesting. In this stock configuration that you're seeing here, 337mm with a 3-slot GPU. However, if you adjust the bracket that I'm showing on your screen right now, you can lower it for the mounting and you can put in a 357mm 4-slot GPU. Also, keep in mind, if you're making the GPU mounting longer, your DisplayPort or HDMI cable at the bottom is going to be a bit harder to plug in because there's not as much clearance. Now, how does this work with 4-slot GPUs? I like that question. I got a good answer for you. What you're going to want to do is loosen these 2 screws here, and then that allows you to push the bracket out, giving you additional GPU clearance, making the case a lot wider. Take a look at this, right? So what you're seeing now is the case in its default configuration. Let's call it skinny mode, right? Skinny mode. And if we change the offset and the bracket and put the panels back on, you'll see that the case is significantly wider and it's about a single slot wider, allowing us to install big, fat old chunky GPUs, dog. But it doesn't stop there. It has a hidden feature. And that is a very weird one that Cooler Master hasn't talked about at all. You see this bracket here? This is something I noticed when I pulled it out of the box. I'm like, why is it like that? Because if we look closely, we can remove this bracket here. And if we take a look at the bottom of the case that I'm showing right now, we can remove this screw that I'm showing, and we can change the spine of the case to make it wider in case you wanted to put a slim air cooler, although it's not the way you would use this at all because obviously it's got everything included, but if you really wanted to, you could. With changing the width of the case, we also need to change the top of the case too because the case is going to be wider. There's going to be a gaping hole. Included with the case is another top panel, and this is basically so there's no gaping hole in the top of your case. For internal case wiring, we've got a block, which is all the front panel connectors. We've got a USB Type-C cable, we've got a USB Type-A cable, and the front panel audio connector. On the front panel itself, we've got two USB Type-A ports, a USB Type-C port, a combined headphone and microphone jack, and a power button hiding on the corner. That also has an illuminated light inside to brighten your day. That's everything I think you need to know about the Cooler Master NCORE 100 Max for now. Let's do our usual thing. Let's do a build, we'll test the thermals, and I'll let you guys know if this is worth your hard-earned money. All right, let's take a look at the thermals with the NCORE 100 Max. This is a bit interesting because the hardware here is quite unusual. For CPU thermals, we're hitting the thermal envelope for this 7950X3D. And the reason why I use this CPU is because it's got an unusual liquid cooler, and I really wanted to test out what the limits of this were. With that said, we may have just exceeded the thermal envelope for the CPU, but we didn't see much CPU throttling. And remember as well, this is a very unrealistic thermal test. It's not going to get that hot with most workloads. So now you know what the theoretical maximum would be. And if we look at the GPU temps, just to add that in, the GPU temperatures are crazy good in this case. So I would say the thermals are pretty good. Now, would I recommend using a CPU like this in this case? Probably not, but can you do it with the 3D V-Cache chips? You can, because they don't typically get too hot. 85 to 87 degrees for these chips, well, for any CPU in a small form factor case with a crazy synthetic workload is fine, right? It's Really, really not that bad. If you're interested in any of the hardware used in this build, there's a PC part picker list down below. You can check out that list at your own leisure. But what do I think about the NCORE 100 Max? Well, first of all, the build quality of this case is phenomenal. It is so premium. It is really, really nice. And I think Cooler Master's done a pretty excellent job overall. What would be more interesting with the NCORE 100 Max would be if Cooler Master decided to make it a little bit bigger at the top and include that additional thickness of the case and make it a 140mm cooler with that same 38mm thickness. That'd be pretty interesting to see, if I'm being honest, because we would get a lot more thermal headroom that way. But realistically, this performs like a 240mm liquid cooler anyway. So good work, Cooler Master. The case is pretty nice. And to be honest, I kind of like this color. It comes in a stack of other colors too, but this goldish one that we've got with our lighting at the moment, it kind of pops. So I'm digging it. Yeah, Cooler Master's done a great job on this case. And with their small form factor cases, as of, I'm going to say the NR200P, they haven't missed yet. So yeah, NR200P V2 video coming soon. I've pushed Cooler Master to get one of these. So hopefully we'll get one as soon as possible, and then we can do a little bit of a comparison. But this is not about that case. This is about this. So yeah, good job, Cooler Master. I don't hate it. I thought that I might when I saw it at Computex, but actually building in it is great. As far as cable management in the NCORE 100 Max, really, really good. I was a little bit concerned that when I installed the cooler, the pipes would kind of protrude out the side, but I forgot there's extra clearance with the side of the case, so it doesn't protrude at all. And it comes with a whole bunch of included zip ties as well. And instead of me just doing what I usually do and just build it and jam everything in, I decided to button up this thing, plug in all the cables to see exactly how it'd be like if you decided to build. And cable management is one of the best for a small form factor case, can't lie. And it's not just me saying this is a lot of other people saying this about this case. Cooler Master has knocked it out of the park in general. All right, if you're interested in the Cooler Master NCORE 100 Max, you're looking at spending around about $389 US or around about 599 Aussie dollars. Keep in mind though, this case has an integrated power supply and a cooler, and if you're building a small form factor PC and you're buying those things separately, it's going to cost about the same money anyway. Cooler Master has done such a good job on this case that I realized I don't actually want this system at all. So what we've decided to do with this is we're giving it away. We don't want this computer. We don't need more computers. The reason why this is possible is because UMart's like, hey, it's back to uni time here in Australia. If you need some hardware for any builds or anything, we'll just give you whatever you need. And I was like, you know what? Give us enough hardware for this NCORE 100 Max and we'll just give it away to everyone. So shout out to Gigabyte and Silicon Power for also coming to the party and hooking us up with some parts for this epic build. UMart's also doing a back to uni promotion where they've got heaps of discounts on laptops, iPads, monitors, and all the hardware and stuff you need to get back to learning all of the things. Now, if you want to enter this giveaway, all you got to do is like the video, subscribe, maybe leave a comment down below saying what your favorite thing about the PC is, and then click the link in the description down below to enter. This is a worldwide giveaway. We'll send it anywhere on the planet. We can't send it to Mars, unfortunately. The ships between Earth and Mars don't really run that often. And ladies and gents, we use Gleam. The reason why we use Gleam is it's easy for us to track. It's easy for us to get into contact with people. And if you don't like Gleam, just don't enter the giveaway. Simple as that. You also might have noticed that we didn't label this video as a giveaway because we want to give our viewers who actually watch our videos a chance to own something really, really cool. And as I always say, guys, you gotta be in it to win it. So for those who are dedicated to the channel, only you guys know that we're giving this away. If you don't want to enter the giveaway, that's also fine too, because what you can do is let us know what you think about the Cooler Master NCORE 100 Max. Did it live up to the expectations for what we saw at Computex in 2023? For me personally, it's better than I thought it was going to be, a lot better. When we go to trade shows and that kind of stuff overseas and we see prototypes for cases, it's always really hard to gauge whether or not something is going to be good And with the NCORE 100 Max, when I saw it, I was not here nor there about it. But like I said, once you get to build with it and really get to know something, you can change your opinion on stuff. Yeah, let us know what you think. Shout out to UMart, Gigabyte, and Silicon Power for making it possible to give you guys opportunities to own badass PCs. Yeah, how good is that? In fact, you know what, if you want, check out this video here. This is what I initially said about the NCORE 100 Max over in Taiwan. Or don't watch it, it's completely up to you.
Taiwan's coming soon.
Taiwan's coming very soon.
Yep.
Also, last thing I want to say about the giveaway, you gotta be in it to win it.